All right, welcome back. First Charged up is officially wrapping up in the off season. We are joined by a great host tonight. We'll be taking a look at HighTide's great season they had, ending with a world championship. Looking into the recent blog post about Propulsion Motors being limited to 4, starting with the 2024 season, and event selection, and how some of our teams look at event selection as a whole, and some events that we might be attending. All this and more coming up on this edition of FRC Roundup.
This video on First Updates Now is made possible by viewers like you and also the following sponsors. At Kettering University, over 30% of the student population was in high school robotics. These same students have received a portion of over $7 million in FIRST scholarship. Scholarship applications will open in September. Get ready to go pro and get more information at kettering.edu/first.
All right, welcome to the show. If you have not caught our show previously, FRC Roundup is where we take a look at important topics currently happening in FRC, highlight some discussion points about events that may have happened, strategy, or really anything that correlates with FRC. If you, the fun community, think that there is a topic that we should cover on FRC Roundup, please feel free to ping me on the fun Discord, and I've been more than happy to take a look at it. If you're not familiar with me, my name is Nick Mathis, and I am currently in the 1st and Michigan region and a design mentor on Team 33, the Killer Bees.
And I'm Connor McBride, mentor for Team 166 Chop Shop and an MC and game announcer in the New England District. Our guest tonight is JJ Sessa. JJ is president of FabWorks, lead mentor and drive coach for the 2023 Champions of the World 4414 HighTide. JJ, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, no problem. Excited to jump into what we're going to talk about tonight. So we'll start with topic 1. We just kind of wanted to highlight the season that HighTide had, obviously ending in a world championship in Houston this year. I know, there was a lot of discussion around this robot. It was one of the cooler robots, in my opinion, from the year. Seeing it at Winemede Port week 1 all the way to, ended up on Einstein as champion. So JJ, I guess I'll kind of throw it to you, start off to highlight some of the, items that you thought went good for your team or really might have set your team apart in helping win the championship. And then if you want to highlight some of the 3-motor stuff as well, we're going to talk about the actual blog post in the next topic. And, obviously your opinions on it, but feel free to kind of take it wherever you want, and then we'll bounce questions off you.
Right on. Well, I mean, where do I even start? I guess we're
Right.
we're obviously pretty pleased with the result at the end of the day. The team couldn't be happier. We had such a great time this full season. Just the whole build process was a really fun one, actually, and I have a lot of photos and videos that we can get into about that. But above all else, I think we learned a ton about our team, and we haven't been around for a while. This was our 3rd time attending World Championship. So every single year, I think we take a lot of time and effort to really make sure that we're learning a lot from our mistakes and getting better year over year. I tell all the kids, I tell the mentors that we're not here to just win champs once. We want to build a good legacy. We want to be at Einstein finals every year. Like growing up, every single year, Poofs are in the finals or they're winning the thing. And that's what I remember kind of as my time as a student. So I want to get us the same legacy and have a good shot every single year after year. And I think even with the best result you can achieve, I think we had a lot of shortcomings that we've thankfully been able to identify for rooms of improvement. And the team's really hungry, and we're coming back next season, hopefully even stronger than we came out this one.
Awesome. Yeah. So I guess going into the, basic construction of the robot, and, obviously one of the biggest things that I took away from watching HighTide throughout the season was just the, the progression of the robot from week 1 to where it ended at champs. HighTide's one of the teams that is constantly iterating. I know a lot of the elite teams do as well, but you really saw that robot take very sizable steps at each one of its events when I saw it. So what was really, the push between, trying to go from those basic regionals to the championship on what, HighTide was really trying to accomplish in between those points?
Yeah, well, I think really the biggest driver of our culture and how we make robots is we just try to be the fastest out of any team out there building robots. And I think this year we had a working robot in around 3.5 weeks, and it was missing some of the functionality of what our final comp bot was. But that's about when we were scoring points. Things were getting really close around 3 weeks. This is just our practice bot, the silver unpowder coated version. But pushing manufacturing, CAD design, manufacturing, electrical programming, you have to do it all. But manufacturing is usually the thing that a lot of teams, I feel like, get really bottlenecked by. Um, and getting really fast at that allows us to just produce iterations of the robot and slowly improve over the course of the season. And I will go through some of these videos, but you'll see in the first couple clips, I mean, this thing isn't anything special. And I think it's something a lot of teams can take away from that. We're not over here with some silver bullet and manufacturing these beautiful, perfect robots the first time. They start out really shaky. This is a great clip. I think this is the first cone we've ever scored. So this is around early February, sometime around then. But the claws wobbling around and the software is pretty shaky. But the point is that a lot of teams are going to their first events with a robot at this level, like they just got it running the night before. And this is, we're doing this almost a month before going to events. So it's all about just getting stuff made and failing really fast. I mean, there was nights, which is kind of demoralizing for the students sometimes, where we'll make an iteration of the intake or the arm or something like that. We'll put it on the robot and we won't even wire it up because we already see issues, and we just instantly pull it off and get started on the next one. So I think that's really the core of our culture, is just fast iteration, failing really fast, fail as fast as we can. And eventually over time, we just hope we're making the right decisions. And it served us well last year. I think we did it even better this year. I want to say we went through at least about 4 or 5 iterations of every single subsystem on the robot. Even the swerve drives got iterated. I think there's some photos at the beginning of the album of our first the very first modules. We call them like the clip-on modules. But pretty much right from when the game came out, the game animation, I think someone might have shouted out something like 12 motor swerve or something like that. Joking at first, but we gave it some thought. And from day one, we were instantly on the train that we want to figure out how to make this happen. So the first iteration was kind of an attachable unit onto the normal SDS MK4i modules. That's because we didn't know if it was going to be any good or if we would have enough motors left over. We had no idea what our robot was going to look like at the time when we made those. And then eventually we kind of iterated that module into the one you see here, which is kind of the final, more polished version of the whole thing. But even the drivetrain, which a lot of teams, it's kind of the only thing they might just make one time and move on from that. We're iterating in season. And I always have to reiterate it. I don't think we're any smarter or any better at this stuff than everyone else. I think we've just come up with some crazy processes that let us, extract as much out of the time we spend in the room. We don't spend crazy hours in the room. We only meet, 4 or 5 days a week for most of build season, and we might ramp that up when we're really pinched on time. But we're not meeting long hours 7 days a week. It's just all about extracting as much out of the time we actually have to build these robots.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, so I guess rolling into to wrap this topic up, obviously going to the championship, definitely one of the higher caliber teams that a lot of teams were looking at, especially after division release, on making it out of their division and really pushing for the world championship. We asked RC the same question after you guys won. What was it like working with RC?
Oh man,
getting the opportunity to work.
Don't get me started. But yeah, working with those guys was absolutely a blast. I mean, RC's been a friend of mine and a mentor of me personally, just being such a young lead mentor of a team and being so new to this. We've kept in touch over the years. So getting the opportunity to play with them firsthand was really awesome. And he's an amazing lead mentor, and all the mentors and students on their team are really just killers. And we couldn't have asked for better partners to play with that really wanted this more than us, more than anybody out there for sure. And all that aside, I think Madtown was really the one robot we went into champs worried about playing against. I think there was a lot of robots, and there's a lot of amazing robots out there, that could have complemented our style particularly well. Um, 254 and 2056 come to mind, just being amazing cone robots that can just run cones all day long on the other side, which is really our weak spot.
Mhm.
But Madtown kind of fills the same role as us. So we were kind of happy when we knew there was a possibility of us playing together, because it kind of takes out the two best robots that play that cube short side.
Yep.
And they play an equally good cone game. So you can stick them wherever and they'll put up a ton of objects. But they were the ones we were really scared of, because we knew they could be putting up this similar cube numbers as us in that close unprotected lane.
For sure. Tyler, you had a question?
Yeah, something I'd love to hear about is, we hear a lot about the first alliance picks, or right, like the first two teams in it. But I'd love to hear about your alliance partners as well too. I know 4096, coming out of the Midwest area, excited to see them doing as well as he did as well too. So I'd love to hear more about both them and I'm sorry, your other alliance partners eluding me for a second here, but just talk to me about the alliance selection process, how that worked, and why you selected both them and 20. I think it was 2609, if I'm correct on that.
I'm bad with numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think going into it, we had an initial practice session with 696. Shout out to them, as RC said, for letting us go over there and practice with them. And we kind of identified in that we really needed just someone who could do cones, especially because we have a majority of the cubes covered. And even with the new double scoring rules, we were finding we were running out of just actual physical cubes. There's only a limited amount back there. So it was just finding a third and fourth pick that could really just play the middle and do as many cones as possible. And thankfully we got two great robots that were good at doing that. And I mean, they were all a blast to play with. I mean, the mood on our alliance, the whole champs was amazing. Even when things were getting a little shaky, I feel like we all kept the vibe really positive, and we were all stoked and having a great time to be there. And I really don't think we could ask for a better setup. There's really no drama or anything, which I know a lot of teams sometimes go through when pressure gets high. People have disagreements about stuff and things get stressful, but we all kind of knew we were there to win, and it went shockingly smooth.
Love that. Yeah, so we do have a question from chat from Thunder Arcanus. Do you expect your win from the championship to inspire a new inspire I hope we're not expiring. Inspire a new generation of rookie California bots next year?
Oh, I mean, I'm not sure. I think California is kind of used to getting the world championship wins. We're kind of the new kids down here in SoCal, because all the big guys are up north from us. But we try our best around here to host our off-season event and get as many people stoked as possible. But can't really say for sure if there's going to be any new wave of rookie teams.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and just to confirm, JJ, what was 4414's rookie year? It was 18, I believe, correct?
It was 2019 was the first
2019.
year.
Okay, yeah, so it's definitely a relatively new team. Only getting to compete a year and a half prior to last year, ish, right? 20's a half year, or whatever you want to call it, and then obviously 21 being virtual. So, yeah, definitely. And then, what team were you on again?
I went to high school on Team 3925, so that's a local team in the area.
Oh, okay, nice. So one of the questions that I had thought about as well is, obviously with your rookie year being 2019, how did that work with you getting a 4,000 number? Was there a process because it was a group of first teams that came, or first mentors that came over that started a new team, or what was the thought process behind that?
Yeah, it was both a combination of mentors and students. I think we crossed the limit on both of those actually.
Okay.
First has a guideline somewhere that are extremely lost to me now. That outline this exact process on what qualifies you as a rookie or as a the first year veteran. I think there's a very special classification you get on your dashboard for this exact case. And then in the event that you are not a rookie and you're a first year veteran, it cancels you from being able to win any of the rookie awards, as well as I think you still get a couple of the rookie benefits, like you can opt into the rookie kit of parts, and I think there's some registration benefits and stuff like that. The awards, though, you do not get, and then they assign you a number from the same year as the team. Where I don't know how they pick this, if there's multiple mentors from different teams or anything.
Right.
I think they come up with some process that they think best represents kind of the era
Okay.
where maybe most of your institutional knowledge comes from.
Yeah,
So I
that makes
think
sense.
4414 around, that's kind of a 20. I think
Yeah,
it's a
it's like
2012
16.
number, but
Or
2012,
12 would
20.
be, yeah, it'd be 2012, 2012,
Yeah.
2013, right
Yeah.
around
So the
there.
2012, 2013 area is really where I think our roots kind of are. Um, that was my rookie year in high school, and it's where my father originally started, sponsoring and helping out the local high school robotics team there.
Okay.
So that's how I originally got involved. So we go back to around then. It's a little bit of an illusion that we have that, that we're the 2019 rookies, but
Right.
still an impressive little streak of success, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know one quick thing. I know I have some friends that have started other like veteran rookie teams. I do believe that number stems from the team that you were originally coming from.
Yeah.
So I believe it comes for like I think 4414 was originally, that number was came to be when 3925's rookie year was.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, cool. Jumping into topic 2, one of the hotter topics in FRC lately was the blog post that came out. It was probably almost 2 weeks ago now. I believe it was on the 22nd of August. Yep, about 2
Yeah.
weeks. That there will be only 4 propulsion motors allowed on robots for the 2024 season. So obviously, HighTide was the pioneer of the 12 motor swerve, and there was a couple of teams that I knew that were working on it throughout the off season. 2910 comes to mind. I'm sure there's other ones. 5462 is working on 10 motors, only doing on the opposite corners. But first is saying that there will only be 4 propulsion motors allowed on robots for the coming season. So obviously, meaning regular 8-motor swerve would be still legal, but anything more than that, this unfortunately kills anything like Diffie swerve, 5-motor H drive, 6-motor tank. Those are the couple ones that come to mind that this also kills. But JJ, I guess I'll go right to you with being the pioneer of the 12-motor swerve. What is your original reactions with this?
Yeah, there's kind of two different perspectives I have on this whole thing. There's the mentor, the lead mentor of HighTide, and kind of my competitive side. And then there's also just me being a part of this program as a whole for a long time and wanting kind of what's best for the community. And I think a lot of people would be shocked to find out that those opinions still kind of completely are the same, even though they're two very different perspectives. And I really think that this is a great change for the community as a whole, and even me competitively speaking. A lot of people ask me, like, are you guys bummed they nerfed the advantage you have? And I told all the people on the team the same thing. It's that it wasn't the 3-motor swerve. It's our innovation, and then our willingness to develop it and push it to its limit.
Yeah.
That really made the benefit. So even though the 3-motor swerve played a really significant impact in our season, we'll even go as far to die on the hill that if you took that exact robot at champs and just took 4 motors off of the drive, I really don't think it was a championship winning robot. We made a lot of compromises for that specific drivetrain setup. But even if you do that, and we didn't spend our whole season developing it and spending time on it, I think we would have found other places to gain performance. There'll always be another thing to optimize. There'll always be something new to innovate on. And I think we're going to keep trying to, push the limits. And even in 2019, our first year, we were making crazy suction climber cheesecakes and stuff that were really kind of gray in the rules. And it's always something we've kind of enjoyed. And I think this is a natural cycle of a sport like this. We're huge Formula One fans over here, and this is something that happens in Formula One all the time. Is someone finds it's not even like a gray area in the rules. It's just something that maybe someone thought they would never, try to explore. And once
Right.
they do, they realize maybe it's time we kind of pull this back and make an adjustment. And I really got to give first a lot of credit, or the GDC a lot of credit for giving so many teams a heads up. I think it
Yeah,
would have been easy
100%.
to just kind of let it slide until the next game came out and then drop it in the manual. But that would have definitely left a huge sour taste in everyone's mouth who kind of went on this arms race to develop these modules. So thankfully, there's not a it doesn't seem like there's a lot of time or energy wasted into all these things. And I really think the experience for us, it was at times really, really tough. I mean, we got a lot of red cards, especially our first event. Thankfully, they started kind of clarifying those rules, but there's no team, us or the other teams we're knocking over, that want to be a part of that interaction. It's just a really rough thing overall. Um, and it's hard to require teams to kind of maybe dial the level and speed of playback to something safe. And I think this is a really easy way to
Hmm.
just draw the line at somewhere that's, I think, completely reasonable. Even though it's killing a lot of creative drivetrains, I think there's plenty of space in this program to be creative and innovate. um, and I'm just props to them for making a bold move at a great time, and we're here for it, both from Team HighTide and from me just thinking what's best for you know for everyone in the community.
Yeah, absolutely. Connor, any thoughts before we go ahead and move on?
Yeah, I'm actually I'm kind of happy about the blog post. At first, I was a little indifferent because I was like, well, I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't affect me. As like 166, we moved away from a tank drive. We moved over to SDS modules a few years ago. We had thought about doing a 12 motor swerve project, but I'm glad that we never signed off on starting the project, and then that blog post came out, so that saved us a lot of time and energy. But I wouldn't be surprised if first had like decided to start thinking about this, because like the beginning of the summer, because I know a lot of teams started to post like CAD files and documentation of their own designs of a 12 motor swerve module. So that's probably first, is trying to be proactive about it. I'm glad that they came out about this as early as they could prior to the season actually starting. I would hate to see that be like a team update or something happen right before the season, as teams have probably got their modules ready to go, or they've started to order parts, and then all of a sudden, boom, you can't do it, and now you have to completely rethink. But what I am sad to see go is a tank drive with more than 4 motors. I still think that those robots are still very useful, in my opinion. I know we were, when we did tank drive, we never really did a 6 motor drive, really anything over 4. So it, again, didn't affect my team too much. But I think the biggest thing that I'm sad to see go is Diffie Swerve. I've always been a sucker for seeing how Diffie Swerve operates. I've always wanted to do one, but I know I've never wanted to put one into competition. This might be a hot take, but I think Diffie Swerve is only a cool science project in the meantime. I don't really see it as a very practical drivetrain in FRC competition. But yeah, overall, I'm happy with the blog post. I'm glad that First was very proactive about it.
Yep. Yeah, I think one final note before we jump to Tyler. Tyler's got something as well, but I think the biggest thing with 6 motor tank was a lot of teams were running 6 mini sims. That was one of the big things without when Brushless wasn't here. So now that we're in the Brushless era that we are, I think that solves a lot of the issues that are points that could be raised in terms of the 6 motor tank. But chat and poll in chat states 51% agreeing with the 4 motor propulsion limit, 37% too early to tell, and 11% no. So interesting to see the community aligns with what we're talking about here as well, at least the small sample size that we have. So Tyler, you had something you want to jump in?
Well, one thing I just want to bring up is, First does state a little bit of the why that they made this change for things, but something I don't really mention here is it really because of what next year's game is going to be at all. So I'm very curious on, are we going to see something like an open field or something like that? Like to me, this is only like a little bit of what they're unveiling for the reason why, like the long-term reasons. But to me, it's like, why this year are they making that change? And is there something that is specific for next year's game and why they're making this change now for things as well? So I'm more just curious on like, why did it happen this year versus other years? I agree. I love that they're giving it way ahead of time. I think that's a very good thing for them to do. But it just seems like, such a momentum and direction that things have been going for so many years to all of a sudden put the brakes on it like now. I wasn't sure what your guys' thoughts might be on that.
So I'll bite on that. So I know you see in the blog post about like field damage and stuff. I know JJ kind of alluded to this with those hard collisions and red cards of tipping robots. Like you can think about like how fast your robot was whipping around the field. If it's an open field or even playing charged up, I imagine like hitting any kind of field structure full force at that, like you're gonna jar some bolts loose. And like the first is not made of money. And I would imagine that those fields are probably at least a decade old. Some of the like the driver station walls and like even like just the field perimeter. So like that probably just longevity of the field so that they can save some money and allocate it to other areas.
Mm-hmm. Yep, well, only time will tell. We'll know shortly. Here we're already in September. Crazy to think, but
Yeah.
short couple months we'll find out. So, before we go and jump into our final topic of the night, we'll go ahead and bring Tyler back on to talk about our show sponsor, Kettering University, and start our giveaway from FabWorks.
Well, JJ, I want to start with you, man, on the giveaway here. Do you mind talking a little about what we're giving away and what FabWorks is?
Yeah, sure. So we're giving away a $75 FabWorks coupon. So if you guys don't know, HighTide's based out of a sheet metal manufacturing facility in Ventura, California. And about 7, 8 months ago, we started working on this project to kind of modernize the sheet metal industry. And there's a lot of other companies out here that do it, and this is just our unique take on the whole thing. So you go on the website and you upload your DXF files. You can pick your materials and your quantities, and we'll laser cut them out and we'll ship them. And our whole goal is to make a service that is fast enough to actually be used in an FRC season. Because I think even some of the other rapid laser cutting services out there are just a little too slow for what teams expect to get their parts and designs in versus what they can make in house or have a sponsor make. So our goal is to make it so fast that it makes it very hard to justify doing anything else. And we think if we can appease the FRC teams of the world, then it just makes us that much better for for all of our other customers that we're trying to serve.
Awesome, JJ. I need a keyword, man. What can chat? If they're watching live, what can they type in to enter this giveaway?
Do like RIP 12 motor or something like that.
All right, we'll do it all as one word like this. RIP 12 motor. Type that in chat right now. That's your opportunity to win. Don't forget, by the way, if you are a subscriber to the channel, you do get some extra luck. That's for free to subscribe on YouTube. So go ahead and type in RIP12 Motor, and we'll draw for that near the end of the show as well. By the way, let's give a big shout out to this show's sponsor, Kettering University. Hey, scholarships are opening up at Kettering University. If you plan on going to Kettering, you can be eligible to get up to $5,000 per year to attend Kettering University. Head over to kettering.edu/first to learn more about what they have. And we have Kettering Kickoff coming up in just a couple weeks. We have 2 single-day events. I will be out there myself. We'll be doing some shoutcasting, instant replay, and more. So make sure you check that out on Fun's Twitch channel coming up in just a couple weeks here. Very excited about that. And thanks a lot to Kettering University for the continued support of First Updates Now.
Awesome. All right, jumping into our final topic of the night, we'll be talking a little bit about event selection and looking at events for the 2024 season. Obviously, we're getting into September here. Usually, this is the time where we see the full event list for the following season come out. I know that there's a thread on Chief Delphi right now, discussing some of the regionals that are already confirmed, or I know New England released their list of districts today. Michigan should be hopefully in the next couple of weeks here. I believe it's usually the second to third week of September that we see ours come out. But I guess the goal of this I want to highlight essentially what our individual teams might look for in an event when we're trying to schedule, and then why we do it that way or what's the process behind it. So I guess I'll go ahead and start. For 33, I've only been on the team for a year and a half now, but from the general consensus, personal, I'm not involved with the event selection. I'm just going to put that out there. This is just from my sheer knowledge, but um, we usually are pretty dead set on a week 1 and a week 3. I know because we're in the district system, it's a little bit different than obviously what HighTide might do or any other regional teams, but because we're in the district systems, 1 and 3 are big for us. With Michigan State champs being week 6, and there's a reason for that. First of all, week 1 forces you to be done. It's essentially the big driving point to get the robot done in a timely manner. So be competing week 1, getting it out there, getting those matches in early is important for the longevity and development of the robot throughout the season. So that's a big one for us. And then week 3, I think is week 3 or 4. I think 3 personally is really the happy medium on what you're looking for, at least in Michigan, on trying to gives you an opportunity. Compete week 1, get back, figure out what you don't like about the robot. Gives you 2 solid weeks to essentially redesign or update the robot for redesigns that were made before week 1 that didn't get on the robot. Make any necessary software changes, update autonomous, and go on and compete with that robot week 3. And then what it does is it allows you 3 full weeks before, arguably one of the most, one of the most important competitions that your team's going to have in the season, with at least in Michigan, in the Michigan State Championship. So it gives you 3 solid weeks to evaluate the redesign that you made week 3. Take a look at software and update. How can we get the robot, lighter, faster, stuff like that. And then as well as make sure your autonomous routines are really dialed in, because the time between Michigan States and champs is not a huge gap. So that's really your last opportunity that you have. So I guess I'll leave it at that. That's kind of what we look at it as. We'll probably be shooting for a week 1 and a week 3 again here in 2024. But Connor, I'll start with you, New England District. What's the thought process behind 166's avenues?
Yeah, well, first off, shout out to New England First for getting out the schedule. Probably the fastest it's ever been. Like normally our schedule is out probably within 5 days before first event selection goes live. So we actually have a lot of time to really digest our schedule and really kind of plan it out. So this is a little bit of a roller coaster because we typically don't care what event, like what week we end up playing and how far we need to drive. We will go anywhere in New England. Fortunately, that's not too far of a drive. That can mainly be like 3 to 4 hours max. But we'll happily go anywhere. I mean, we were going to go to the Pine Tree event, which is going to be about a 4.5 hour drive up north for us last year, but the event got canceled. But that worked out in the end. We have one big rule of thumb is we will never do back-to-back weeks. With the exception of a district qualifier and district champs. So like you see on screen, we'll happily go to UNH or WPI week 5 and then go to district champs week 6. The big thing for us is being in a district system. If we're not a big powerhouse team, we want to make sure that we can maximize our district points as best as we can. We want to try and figure out what teams are going to potentially go to what events and where we're going to be able to succeed, not only in the robot game, but we're also an impact team. Want to make sure that we have our best chances there as well. So we're always kind of looking at the last 4 to 5 years as to what teams are going to what events, seeing their win percentage, how far they're going, how many district points they're getting. We're looking at what impact teams are going to what events, who are the normal suspects at those events. And we do try our best to try and stay away from those heavy hitting events. So I can guarantee you that you'll never see us at Granite State week 1 ever. And if you end up seeing us there, I probably lost. My opinion probably wasn't there, and you can probably shoot me in the face on that one. So ideally, we'll probably end up in my perfect world. We'll probably end up going week 3 and week 5. I know, Nick, you were saying that you guys like to try and get there to week 1 just to kind of get the robot done as fast as you can. Fortunately, where we have in New England, we have the official week 0 right on our doorstep.
Yeah,
so that pushes us to get our robot done a lot faster. It's an official field with actual matches, and it doesn't count against you for your regular season. So that's massive for us. So we spend a lot of time looking at what events that we'll go to, and we'll happily go wherever we want to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, for what it's worth, we selected week 1 and still decided to do cones in every orientation. So, anyhow, but JJ, being a regional team, SoCal, what's obviously HighTide's thoughts behind event selection and trying to plan out the year, obviously with the goal of getting to the championship.
Yeah, so there's definitely a couple different factors that go into it. I think the biggest one is we have 2 home events and they're back to back, and those have been week 1 and 2 the last 2 years. So I don't think we would ever be a back-to-back team. My opinions maybe kind of change on that after how we've handled it this last 2 years. I think we've handled it better than I thought we would. Regionals obviously are kind of a very long weekend, and but we typically just load in week 1, do our thing, and then close the road cases up. Maybe do some software, some small revisions back at the shop, bring in some spare intake plates or something like that. And then, do those changes practice day at week 2. So we're not taking the pit out. We're really not meeting consistently. Work is obviously still getting done. You can never get away from that. Your mind's racing on, what improvements you can make for that next week. But it's a relatively relaxed week in between there. And then after that, we usually try to dedicate a good chunk of time, because we've realized that with building robots so fast for ourselves, once we can kind of start to see what other people are doing, it allows us to take some really aggressive pivots. And we do that after we have a lot of information on, what the best designs are and whose robots are looking juicy to steal. You know what I mean? But so we have typically done a week 5 these last two years. And I think we'll try to continue that trend, assuming the week 1 and 2 we'll do again, because it's so low effort for us just to drive 10 minutes and do 2 of them back to back.
Right.
So we typically get the robot done nice and early, refine it until we're happy with it to bring to our first event. Small changes between 1 and 2, and then we normally bite off some significant changes for a week 5, and then we try to not touch anything besides reliability upgrades between week 5 and champs. That's kind of our trial run for our champs robot.
Yeah,
it normally
exactly.
goes pretty rough for us. It has these last 2 years, where we think we should be by week 5 versus where the robot ends up, and we do that purposefully, and we accept that we come in swinging a little soft at that event. But I think it's paid off both years. It's kind of helped to catapult us and give us a higher ceiling for championship. But the other big thing is we don't have a great practice facility at our shop. We've had various sizes over the years. Right now the shop's just busy and we got some new equipment and stuff, so we can't carve out a huge corner of the place. So we find ourselves driving a lot of weekends to the local teams. There's not anything really close. It takes us about an hour to get to the closest practice field that we can borrow from another team. So 3 regionals has been really, really important for us, because it's just us getting our reps in.
Yeah.
Especially after there's a lot of nerves week 1, and typically week 1 has been the harder event out of the 2 between Port Hueneme and Ventura. So we go on there, stress is really high. Thankfully, both years we've got the qualification, and we kind of can rest a little bit easier at Ventura. We still try really hard because we're never going to go to the event and just sit back. But the nerves are off a little bit, and it gives us some time to kind of dial in, our driving and try some new strategies that we maybe didn't want to risk week 1. So it gives us a lot of flexibility to kind of treat it as official as a practice weekend you can get at that point. The robot's normally running great by then. And then we kind of rip it all apart for week 5 and back to the drawing board, where we're scrambling again on practice day to get things working and functional.
Right. Yeah, makes sense.
Perfect.
Alrighty, well, before we go ahead and wrap up the show, we'll bring Tyler back on to draw for that giveaway from FabWorks.
Do that. Thanks a lot, by the way, to JJ and FabWorks for the awesome giveaway for this evening. Your keyword was RIP12 motor, all one word for that once again. So let's go ahead and draw for our winner, and that's going to be Big Ben. Congratulations, Big Ben. You have won the giveaway. Make sure you shoot First Updates Now a message either admin at firstupdatesnow.com or on our Discord in order to claim so we can get that out to you. Thanks again to Fabworks. Again, for the giveaway, head on over to fabworks.com. Go check them out.
Yeah, thanks again, JJ. So thanks everybody for tuning into FRC Roundup tonight. Special thanks to all those who clicked that subscribe button or stepped up to help fund with a subscription or donation. Your support really helps us continue to make great content. Don't forget, you can watch FRC Roundup archived at youtube.com/first updates now and watch live Mondays after FRC recap during the competition season or monthly now that we are in the off season. Thank you to JJ, our guest, for coming on. And on behalf of our producer, Tyler Olds, my co-host, Connor, and all fun correspondents, I'm Nick Jr., and thanks for watching. See you next month, same day, same time, where we take a look at what is going on with First Robotics on FRC Roundup. Thanks, everyone.
This video on First Updates Now is made possible by viewers like you and also the following sponsors. At Kettering University, over 30% of the student population was in high school robotics. These same students have received a portion of over $7 million in FIRST scholarship. Scholarship applications will open in September. Get ready to go pro and get more information at kettering.edu/first. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to stay up to date on our new videos. Keep the conversation going and provide your input to our content. Watch our live shows at twitch.tv/firstupdatesnow. Join our Discord at discord.gg/firstupdatesnow and check out Fun FTC on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and First Updates Now on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter.